Okay, so today we're going to talk about the production possibilities frontier and comparative advantage. Let's start with the possibilities frontier. So let's take, for example, the nation of Texia. I'm going to draw a graph. This nation is currently working on producing apples and oranges. They only have so much land and capital to work with, so they're going to be limited in how much they can produce. We will illustrate this with this line. If they choose to produce anywhere below that line, such as at this point, it is a feasible point of production but is considered inefficient. If they produce anywhere above this line, it is considered infeasible as they currently lack the labor and capital to produce at that point. Let's move on to a comparative advantage problem. Let's take that same country of Texia, except now let's look at their total food production and compare it to their food production. Let's say they can produce 1,000 units of food or 500 units of clothing. Let's also say they have been given the option to trade with the nation of Albania, who can also produce food and clothing, except at lower rates. They can produce either 500 food or 200 clothing. Now, in this situation, it is clear that Texia currently has absolute advantage. They are better at producing food and clothing than the nation of Albania. However, it is important to note that there are still benefits to trade to be had in this situation. An easy way to quickly find out who should produce what is to create a square. Now we'll label it with the countries by a letter and food and clothing. We know that Texia can produce 1,000 food or 500 units of clothing, while Albania can produce 500 units of food or 200 units of clothing. This makes it very easy to see very quickly what the opportunity cost is of either production. Clearly, if they're producing a unit of clothing here, they're giving up 2 units of food. So I write 2 in the upper right-hand corner. Here, they're only giving up half of a unit of clothing to produce a unit of food. So we say 0.5 or 1/2. For Albania, we can clearly see that they're giving up 2.5 times the amount of units of clothing for food. So for every unit of clothing Albania produces, they give up 2.5 units of food. It's also easy to see that they only give up 0.2 units of food, or of clothes, for every unit of food they choose to produce. Now we simply have to look and see who has the lower opportunity cost of production for each of clothing units and food units. Clothing, 2 is definitely less than 2.5, so that means that Texia will produce clothing. Since 0.2 is less than 0.5, Albania will produce food. In this situation, both nations can benefit from trade.